Can you relate to the lost sheep in the story? I can definitely relate to being lost. I am excellent at getting lost. I am really good at it. When we go on trips with the youth, I appoint a youth navigator, and it's their job to get me where I'm going and tell me where to turn and how to, because I will get lost. My GPS favorite thing to say is recalculating. Make a U-turn in 90 feet. You missed the U-turn, make a U. I'm really good at getting lost. I was even better at getting lost when I started driving. Have you ever been so lost that somebody had to go pick you up? I was trying to come home from a friend's house to get home for dinner, and I was lost. Hopelessly lost. And so the time that I was supposed to be at dinner is the time I finally gave up and pulled into a gas station because they had a payphone, and I called home. My dad answered, and I tried to explain where I am. I'm at a gas station. I don't know. My dad keeps asking me, well, what do you see around you? I don't, there's a McDonald's. I don't, you know, a tree. Well, have you crossed this intersection yet? I have no clue. Okay, Brian, put down the phone and go find a side street intersection and come back and tell me what it is. Put down the phone. I go parking lot of the gas station. I look out. Okay, there it is. I come back, I pick up the phone, I'm at, you're where? You're there? Oh, Brian, my son, you are in a bad part of town. I grew up near there, and I know you don't want to be there, and it's about to get dark. Well, let me try to explain how to get home. You turn, and I turn, wait, left? No, right. What? I'm just going to come get you, son. Okay, then. Right? I want you to lock yourself in the car until I get there. And I was scared and I was lost. And he came and he found me. And I followed him home. Have you ever been so lost that your father picked you up on his shoulders and carried you home? That the good shepherd found you lost in the wilderness, lost in sin, and that Jesus, the Good Shepherd, picked you up on his shoulders and carried you home. Jesus has carried us all here to his home this week. No matter how lost we might have felt during the week, on Sunday we come home. And when we come home to Christ, we rejoice. But God rejoices even more than we do. There is more joy in heaven over one sinner repenting. We've had a great joy this morning with baptisms. And Vanessa and Zach and Kelly and everyone had huge smiles on their face. They still do. But I know that June in heaven has an even bigger smile. I know that Christ has an even bigger smile. And Hannah and Juliet are so fortunate to have loving parents. Maybe down the road, you might be driving across town to find them and pick them up. I'm very fortunate to have a loving father who drive across town to Bad Part and pick me up. You see, the lost sheep didn't find his way back, right? The good shepherd went and got the sheep and carried him home. You see, teenage boys and sheep are dumb animals. And we need help getting home. So I'm very fortunate to have a loving father. But some children don't. They don't. Lauren and I met one of these boys a few weeks ago. And he showed up in our driveway, and he had run away from home. And he was dirty and smelly and thirsty and hungry and scared. Lost. Lauren calls me from the driveway and asks me to come out to the car. Come out to the car, and sure enough, there's this big boy, Charlie. And he's so thirsty that he's panting, and he's clawing up on Lauren's car door. Charlie had run away from home, and he was lost. And we happened to find this dog, so we had to deal with it. First, we thought it was the neighbor's dog. That's easy. So we walked, well, we don't walk Charlie. We kind of corral Charlie. We kind of not really pick him up, but almost get him to the neighbors, and I get dirty from Charlie. Well, it's not the neighbor's dog. That would be too easy. But they're nice, good folks who have taken in strays before they know what to do. They say, look, on the collar there's a company and its phone number, and you call them and they call the owner, and then the owner comes to pick them up. It's like a middleman. Oh, okay, great, thank you. You know this. So they call on the phone. Okay, they're going to try to get a hold of the owner. Cool. So we hang out and we're talking with our neighbors. We get to know them pretty well. We had never really talked to them, honestly. But thanks to Charlie being found, we got to know each other. That happens when we're searching for something, when we're repenting, when we're trying to get home to God. We get closer to each other. We rely on our neighbors. So time passes and passes, and it gets dark, and we figured the neighbors had done more than enough. The dog showed up on our driveway. So we don't walk Charlie, we manhandle Charlie into our backyard, and I get even more dirty and smelly. Now Charlie, maybe not as big as a sheep, maybe not as heavy as a sheep. That good shepherd took this heavy, dirty, smelly sheep who had been lost in the wilderness and put it on his shoulders and carried him home. And I wondered how heavy that sheep was. I wonder if it was as heavy as a cross or the world. Because Jesus picks us up and takes on our sin and carries us home. So the company doesn't call for what seemed like an eternity. And so we called, trying to get Charlie back home. Well, they can't get a hold of the owner, and then they finally do much later. And guess where he is? Out of town. He's in San Antonio, the same place I got lost growing up. So he doesn't want to deal with the dog. First thing he tells me is, oh, that stupid dog got out again. What am I going to do with that smelly, dirty dog? How long can you keep him? I just repeated the question to him to buy time. How long can I keep him? Sir, we took in Charlie off the street. He's safe in our backyard. We gave him food and water, which he scarfed down, by the way. And he's in our yard. And you know what? We already have a dog, and we don't want another one. This had been hours, folks. And so he says on the phone, well, I'm out of town. You know, not my problem, no. Well, is there anyone else who can get the dog? You know what? My sister was supposed to be watching it. So he calls his sister, and finally, sister, brother-in-law, and kids show up in the minivan, and I corral dirty, smelly, run away from home Charlie into the van. And honestly, they didn't seem very appreciative. Did they, Lauren? They seemed annoyed, didn't they? really annoyed and upset that they had to drive across town and get this dirty, smelly, worthless dog. Not everyone has good parents, but even dirty, smelly, run away from home Charlie has a good shepherd. Because it says that the good shepherd goes out and searches until he finds him and puts him on his shoulder and carries him home. God does not give up on us. No matter how sinful and dirty and smelly and hopelessly lost we are, God does not give up on us. That was your cue, Livonia. God does not give up on us. God will pick us up and carry us home. And even though Charlie's owner wasn't happy with Charlie, and I don't imagine he was overjoyed to see the dog back at his house when he came home, unless it had run away again. But I know in our scripture story that those sinners and tax collectors must have been pretty happy to meet Jesus. They drew near to him to listen. I imagine that Jesus was even more happy than they were. I imagine Jesus was overjoyed that sinners drew near, listened, and came home with him. And they were breaking bread and eating with Jesus in the flesh. Eating with Jesus. Doesn't that qualify for this table? Communion? Because they were talking with Jesus, I bet they were repenting. And I bet Jesus was happy that they came home and broke bread with him. And I'm trying to fathom, trying to imagine the face of Jesus with these tax collectors and sinners. And it's a very small comparison, but I imagine in a much grander way that it might have been like the face of my father when he found me on the bad side of town at that gas station, locked in my car. He pulled up and he rolled down his window, and some fathers would yell, right? "You dumb boy, you dumb lost sheep, what are you doing? You got to the friend's house, how in the world couldn't you find your way back? And we were supposed to have dinner, and we haven't yet, because I have to come to find your... You can't, what are you thinking?" Get an earful, yeah. Some fathers would have done that. But I'm very fortunate to have a loving father. He rolled down his window, and he had just utter relief on his face. And he said, "I found you." And he had a huge smile and was overjoyed. "I found you." Now stay close to my bumper like glue all the way home. If we get separated, I'm going to pull over and wait for you. Stay close. And I followed him all the way home. And when we got home after dark, we walked in. And when you walk into the house, you can see the kitchen table. And my mom had cooked one of my favorite meals. And we sat down at the table and we rejoiced. Because my father had found me, had picked me up, and carried me. In the name of the Good Shepherd, who puts us on his shoulders and carries us home.